Coming up, 5 people dead as a traffic accident leads to a fire in an expressway tunnel. It took 2 hours for firefighters to put out the fire, and the scenes caught on camera show the shocking situation. Brazilian football legend Pele dies at 82, battling with a colon cancer for more than a year. The Brazilian is remembered by fans across the world. We look into his legacy. Plus, on the last weekday of 2022, we look into what to look forward to in arts and culture in 2023. From museums to performances, stay with us to find out more. Good morning. Welcome to New Day at Arirang. Our top story this morning, a shocking scene on Thursday as at least 5 people have died in an expressway tunnel fire. The fire in the city of Gwacheon in South Korea's Gyeonggi-do Province burnt some 600 meters of the tunnel and left many people injured. Our Lee-Woo leads us off this morning.
On Thursday afternoon in the city of Gwacheon in Gyeonggi-do Province, a soundproofing tunnel on the second Gyeongin Expressway caught fire. The fire started at 1:49 p.m. according to fire authorities and was extinguished in a little over 2 hours at 4:12 p.m. It killed 5 people and injured 37 more. Of the injured, 3 are in critical condition. It's been speculated that the fire may have started from a waste-collecting truck. The blaze from the truck quickly spread to the walls of the tunnel made of plastic. At least 45 cars were caught in the fire. Some drivers in the tunnel reversed to get their cars out of the tunnel, some who couldn't left their cars and ran out by themselves. Of the 830 meters of the tunnel, around 600 meters have been burnt. The 5 deaths came from 4 different vehicles that were driving in the opposite direction from the truck. The police said that the flames and smoke spread fast, making the lanes within the tunnel meaningless. The driver of the truck survived and was questioned by the authorities until the evening. During the fire, more than 90 fire trucks and nearly 220 firefighters were dispatched to the site of the accident. The authorities are continuing to investigate the specific cause of the fire and the scale of the damage. They are also investigating why an installation designed to stop cars entering the tunnel in emergencies failed to operate this time. Meanwhile, the president's office said on Thursday the president has ordered related ministries to conduct an inspection of similar tunnels to prevent future disasters. Lee-Woo, Arirang News.
Following North Korean drones crossing the border, President Yoon visited the Defense Development Agency to review related military systems. The commander-in-chief called the incident completely unacceptable and vowed to act sternly to such provocations. Our Yoon Jung-min shares with us his remarks.
An accident that is completely unacceptable is the way President Yoon Suk-yeol described North Korea's recent intrusion into South Korea's airspace as he made his way on Thursday to the Agency for Defense Development in the city of Daejeon, some 140 kilometers south of the capital.
북한 무인기가 영공을 침범하고 우리로서는 도저히 용납할 수 없는 그런 사건이 발생했습니다. 우리는 북한에게 도발에는 반드시 혹독한 대가가 따른다는 사실을 깨닫게 해야 합니다.
He took the chance to review and inspect military reconnaissance systems, which are on alert addressing any loopholes in the national defense system in the wake of 5 North Korean drones crossing the border on Monday. The military will beef up its response system in a speedy manner pertaining to any and all flying objects trespassing in South Korean airspace using a new drone unit and stealth unmanned aerial vehicles. Similar discussions were held at a National Security Council meeting the same day, attended by the president.
우리의 자유를 지키기 위한 자위권의 행사는 확실하고 단호하게 해야 합니다. 우리의 자유를 침범하는 행위에 대해서 확고한 응징과 보복만이 우리 자유에 대한 공격과 도발을 억제할 수 있습니다.
Taking a hardline approach, the South Korean commander-in-chief urged officials to ensure overwhelmingly superior war preparations in order to secure peace, making critical reference to what he called peace in disguise. He renewed his call for stern action without fear or hesitancy against any state with nuclear weapons that engages in provocations. He also took critical note of a cut in next year's defense budget at the National Assembly for items specifically allocated to counteract North Korea's UAVs. And for the first time in 5 years, the South Korean military held a nationwide defense drill on Thursday, mobilizing planes and helicopters under actual attack scenarios to counter potential drone-based provocations. The Defense Ministry says it'll spend some $440 million over 5 years on equipment for drone detection, laser weapons, and more. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
A bipartisan group, Korean Americans for Political Action, is calling on the U.S. Congress to immediately stop pushing for a bill that would put Korean H-1B visa seekers at a disadvantage known as the EAGLE Act. On Wednesday local time, the group said the bill H.R. 3648 would effectively bar applicants from many countries, including Canada, the UK, and South Korea, from getting an H-1B visa in favor of applicants from India and China. It also called for a hearing and community input before the bill is passed. The EAGLE Act, which stands for Equal Access to Green Cards for Legal Employment, seeks to make hiring immigrants based on merit, not their birthplace, by eliminating the per-country cap for employment-based immigrant visas. But with this, many fear that certain countries that have more skilled workers, especially in tech, may benefit and the immigrant pool may not be diverse. Amid growing economic uncertainties, global economic growth for next year is expected to slow down compared to this year. The U.S. Federal Reserve is expected to continue its monetary tightening, although the pace might slow down. However, some experts say there are still some positives that the world can look forward to in 2023. Our Shin Ah-young reports.
World economic growth outlooks are facing growing uncertainty due to geopolitical risks and soaring inflation. The OECD projects the world economy to grow 2.2% next year. The International Monetary Fund has also forecast that the global GDP growth will slow from this year's 3.2% to 2.7%. Amid declining demand, it also downgraded the growth in global trade volume to 2.5%, down by 1.9 percentage points from its previous estimation. If 2022 was a year of aggressive monetary tightening from central banks to tame soaring inflation, experts forecast that 2023 will be a year where the global economy will suffer from the aftermath.
As central banks around the world have been focusing on their own inflation rather than economic growth, interest rates are less likely to drop. Currently, household debt and corporate debt have been increasing, leading them to suffer or possibly even go bankrupt next year.
The U.S. Federal Reserve has recently slowed its rate hike. However, it has hinted that rates could top 5% next year, saying that more work is needed in terms of price stability. One professor pinpointed inflation in the U.S. as being the one to keep tabs on as it impacts global monetary policy as a whole. Also, higher inflation in the U.S. could raise the cost of imports. However, there are still some positives the world can look forward to regarding the economy.
Prices of crude oil and other raw materials have been decreasing as demand drops under the global economic slowdown. This could bring down inflation in the US, leading to an end of rate hikes and helping the world economy recover.
He also said that the COVID-19 situation in China will be crucial after it reopened its borders and scrapped its strict quarantine measures, and that it will likely boost global demand like consumer spending, corporate investment, and exports. Shin Ah-young, Arirang News.
Pele, the legendary Brazilian footballer and the only player to win the World Cup 3 times, has died at age 82. Big names in the football world pay their tributes on social media, showing respect for the trajectory of Pele's life and hoping that he rests in peace. Our Kim Bo-kyung tells us more.
The Brazilian soccer icon, the only player to lift a World Cup trophy 3 times.
I want this to be very clear. I thank with my heart everything I have received in this world, my fans, and the people who love me. Thank you very much.
The legendary football player Pele has died at the age of 82. His daughter confirmed his death on Thursday local time on Instagram with a note saying, "Everything we are is because of you. We love you infinitely. Rest in peace." Along with a photo showing family members' hands next to those of the iconic football star. According to the Albert Einstein Israeli hospital where he had been receiving treatment, Pele died at 3:27 p.m. due to multiple organ failure resulting from the progression of colon cancer. Pele's health had been deteriorating since he had a tumor removed from his colon in September of last year, and he had been hospitalized due to other health issues related to kidney and cardiac dysfunctions stemming from the cancer. Born Edson Arantes do Nascimento but known exclusively as Pele, he is widely considered one of football's greatest ever players. He is the only player in history to have won 3 World Cups, lifting the trophy for Brazil in 1958, 1962, and 1970. At his first World Cup in 1958, he became the youngest ever to score in a World Cup final at the age of 17. He also held the record Brazilian national team's all-time top goal scorer record for 51 years with 77 goals, until Neymar equaled that record at this year's Qatar World Cup. Expressing sorrow for the icon's death, tributes poured in from across the globe, including from Argentina captain Lionel Messi and Portugal striker Cristiano Ronaldo, wishing him to rest in peace while paying homage and saying he will never be forgotten. 김보경, Arirang News.
From Korea's first Harry Styles tour to the return of the Paris Opera Ballet in 30 years. 2023 is going to be packed with special events to look forward to. Our Kim Hyun-sung gives us a breakdown.
2023 is going to be a great year for the culture sector. It will take off with the Korean-made musical blockbuster Beethoven premiering at the Seoul Arts Center. This production is 7 years in the making and packed with a stellar cast, starring musical superstars Park Hyo-shin, Park Eun-tae, Kai, and Gwacheon. In March, Harry Styles is coming to Seoul for the first time on tour. The world-renowned pop star who first made his name as a member of the boy band One Direction will perform at Seoul Olympic Park on March 20th. Another significant visit in March is the return of the Paris Opera Ballet. The full troupe is coming to Korea for the first time in 30 years to perform one of their most famous ballet acts, Giselle, from March 18th to 11th. The Paris Opera Ballet is the oldest and one of the most esteemed ballet companies in the world, and recently named Korean ballerina Park Se-eun as its étoile, or star, as the first Asian dancer to earn that title. March is certainly going to be a busy month because the Phantom of the Opera will also stage its first Korean production in 13 years. Starring musical superstar Cho Seung-woo as the lead, it's going to open in Busan first, from March to June, and then move to Seoul from July to November. Next summer and fall will be busy seasons for classical music. In May, the Luxembourg Philharmonic Orchestra is coming to Korea for the first time ever. It's going to perform with Korean cellist Han Jae-min, who is seen as a cello whiz kid. Just 16 years old, he's already won multiple awards and is the youngest winner of the Grand Prix at the George Enescu International Competition. The oldest orchestra in Switzerland, the Luzern Symphony, will also perform next year, where Korea's most famous pianist Im Yoon-chan will be playing the Mozart Piano Concerto No. 20 in the July performance. In the fall, Berlin Philharmonic is going to perform in Korea for the first time in 6 years. They'll have pianist Cho Sung-jin playing Beethoven's Piano Concerto No. 4. So much to look forward to, rolling into the next year. Kim Hyun-sung, Arirang News.
120 years ago, in December of 1902, the first ship carrying 121 Koreans seeking a new life overseas left the peninsula and reached the shores of Hawaii. Back then, only 86 of those that arrived were allowed to settle on the island. However, fast forward to today, there are now more than 1.5 million Korean Americans living in the U.S. Now, that being said, I would like to invite someone who's seen it all. Born and raised in Tennessee and rocking an authentic Southern accent, comedian Henry Cho joins us this morning. Good afternoon for you, because you're in Tennessee.
That's right. How you doing?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it's an honor to have you on our show, but I wanted to start with a question. Now, you broke into stand-up comedy when Asian presence in the entertainment business was scarce. Now, I know this from experience because I grew up in the States, but how hard was that for you to break it into the scene? Yeah.
Good word. It was me and a guy named Phil Nee out of New York, and we were it. And Phil kind of went off on doing other things, but I was it for a long time. And it was difficult, you know, it was kind of weird because no one knew how to take me because, number one, they're not used to seeing an Asian comedian. And then I'm from Tennessee, so that really threw people off on that spectrum also. But just being Asian was the thing that most people couldn't figure out because no one was doing it back then. I mean, all the young guys now, the only reason they're doing it, they tell me, is because they saw me do it because they didn't think we were allowed to do it. I mean, we were supposed to be doctors or play the cello.
Right, right. Now, do you see a rapid change now with the acceptance of Korean entertainers now that K-pop is big and Korean movies are, you know, being spread more widely?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, look at BTS. I mean, my daughter has seen them live probably half a dozen times. I took her to the James Corden show and saw him twice there. She has tickets to P1 Harmony. They're coming to Nashville. She's seen Monster X, and she loves Twice and ITZY and all these. And she wants to, I mean, as a teenager, that's what she wants to do. She can't wait to get in front of JYP. And I mean, it's insane how the acceptance level. If you're in America and you watch television, you will see an Asian actor or actress in a commercial. When I was starting out and I'd go on auditions, it was me and a bunch of white guys, and they thought, oh, they're going Asian? I go, no, they're going guy. But it just turned, but now it's wide open. So I'm so happy for all those Asian performers, actors, musicians, comedians, because the door's been opened a lot wider than when I started.
Right, and I wanted to build off on that because, as I mentioned before, it's been 120 years since the first ship carrying Korean Americans to U.S. left the peninsula. And one sign that Korean American culture has really settled in the U.S. is the fact that people find Korean American comedians sharing their immigrant family experiences funny, right? So do you think comedy has actually broken down some barriers and helped some Korean immigrants to be accepted in the U.S.?
Yes, 100%. You know, my parents immigrated here 70 years ago. Then they speak fluent Korean, but they were trying to learn English because that's how it was back then. In Knoxville, Tennessee, you didn't have an Asian community, let alone a Korean community. So for them to communicate, they had to learn English. So it was a different situation for them back then. But humor has always conquered all. You can diffuse anything with humor. So I think that's helped a lot. I think Korean Americans are treated differently. You know, I was the first Korean American to do the Tonight Show. I was the first Korean American to do all these different things as a comedian. And if it wasn't for comedy, I would not have been able to make those steps.
Right, and as I said, I grew up in the States, and it was great that some of my white friends, like you put it, you know, knew and relate to some of my lifestyle because of the comedy shows that you and other comedians have put out there. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning and afternoon for you, and I hope you have a great New Year, actually.
Hey, thanks a lot. Happy holidays, everybody. Thanks for having me on. Y'all be safe.
For a look at news from around the world, we turn to Lee Seung-jae standing by at the Arirang News Center. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Well, it certainly has been a sad 24 hours as another legendary figure passed away, this time in the fashion world.
That's right, Toya. We're talking about Vivienne Westwood this time, a designer who became one of British fashion's biggest names, passing away at the age of 81 on Thursday. Now, according to her fashion house, Westwood passed away peacefully, surrounded by her family in Clapham, South London. Now, having dressed the Sex Pistols, the British designer was largely responsible for bringing modern punk and new wave fashion into the mainstream. She was, of course, inducted into Britain's establishment in 1992 by Queen Elizabeth II, who awarded her the Order of the British Empire Medal. The late designer was also known for her role as an activist, raising awareness for climate change and civil rights issues. Now over to Israel this time, where Benjamin Netanyahu began his 6th term as Israel's prime minister on Thursday, leading a hard-right cabinet that promises to expand Jewish settlements in the occupied West Bank. The 73-year-old, who's currently on trial for grave charges, has made ending the Israeli-Arab conflict his top priority, as well as thwarting Iran's nuclear program and increasing Israel's military capacity. Netanyahu previously held the top job from 1996 to 1999 and from 2009 to 2021. Now, in response to his return, Palestinians condemned the new government and warned of a dangerous escalation. Now, devastating news out of Cambodia this time as a casino fire in the city of Poipet on Thursday killed at least 19 people, injured 60, and left dozens more missing. According to officials at the scene, the death toll may continue to increase, with rescuers struggling to free people trapped inside. About 400 employees and patrons were inside the Grand Diamond City Casino and Hotel when the fire broke out around midnight. The area is hugely popular with short-term visitors from Thailand, where gambling is illegal. And finally, over to the U.S. New York City, certainly known as the city that never sleeps, but it's also known as the place to celebrate New Year's, which is why New York's Times Square is testing out everything before these celebrations on New Year's Eve. And on Thursday, it tested out the confetti in a number of trials. Times Square's New Year's Eve celebrations have been going for 119 years, with the event being among the biggest in the world, typically drawing about 1 million people, with millions more tuning in on television.
Oh my golly, that confetti is floating.
Good morning. There was light snow in central parts of the country overnight, and there could be some lingering snow through the morning, so please drive with extra care. Meanwhile, western parts of the country could see dust levels rising, while East Coast regions remain under dry weather alert, so please be careful with anything that could cause a fire. Temperatures have gotten milder compared to the same time yesterday, about 5 degrees higher in Seoul. Afternoon highs will be similar to yesterday, Seoul topping out at 1 degree Celsius, Daegu, Gwangju at 5 degrees this afternoon. Warmer than average temperatures to end the year and to kick off 2023 under fairly clear skies, but those who plan to check out the last sunset and the first sunrise of the year should still dress in extra layers. And here is the timetable for some of the popular sunset and sunrise spots here in Korea. The last sunset of the year will be around 5:23 in the capital tomorrow. With that in mind, here's a look at the weather conditions around the globe.
And that'll do it for today's New Day at Arirang. We'll be back next week with a new anchor, actually. It's been a privilege for the past 6 months, and I hope you have a great day and stay with Arirang News for the rest of the day for more updates. Thank you and goodbye.